WARA, Women in Renewable Energy Association. Thank you so much for joining us for today's online interview.
Great, nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you. The first question I want to ask you is, could you please give us a brief introduction about yourself from the perspective of your career journey and also your professional journey?
Okay, thank you, Honam. Hello.
Hello.
My name is Marlistya Citraningrum. I'm the program manager for Sustainable Energy Access at the Institute for Essential Services Reform. We are based in Jakarta, Indonesia. I've been working in IESR for about 4 years, and prior to that, I worked at the community development sector in order to understand more on Indonesia's development landscape, because we're a big country and there are a couple different contexts, not a couple, a lot of different contexts of development in Indonesia. That's why I want to understand that more. And prior to that, I was finishing my PhD in Taiwan, researching on environmental issues and management.
Okay. So as far as we know, you've been in the renewable energy industry for several years right now. So I'm actually wondering what drives you to make the choice of devoting yourself into this industry, and how do you like your daily work in renewable energy right now?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So it actually feels natural because concern on environment and on the earth has stemmed from my personal experience and conviction. So I was born in this small village, less developed area where you can find trees and a nice river. And my father used to take me to that river to swim. However, along the years, I have seen that our activities affect the environment so much. That nice river is no longer clean. It's shrinking in volume, and it's no longer beautiful in a way. And that's why I chose to study engineering for my bachelor, because I want to understand more how we can, quote unquote, save our environment and how to do sustainable development in the first place. So that's why I work along the sustainable development area for so long. And currently, it's just a little bit more specific because then I work on the sustainable energy side. So it's quite a journey to work in the renewable energy and sustainable energy in general, because in Indonesia, we have been called, there has been a lot of potential for renewable energy and for sustainable energy development, but we're still lagging behind. So it is exciting and challenging at the same time. And we expect to see more progress, hopefully soon.
I actually want to say I'm actually so impressed by the motivation of, like your devotion in the renewable energy industry in Indonesia, especially for, the better environment in this country. So I'm really impressed, honestly speaking. So
it's a personal story, so
yeah. So
yeah.
You've been working at IESR for 4 years, as far as I know right now. So how do you describe your leadership now as women in this association? And I'm wondering how it evolved over time.
Natural because concern on environment and on the earth has stemmed from my personal experience and conviction. So I was born in this small village, less developed area where you can find trees and a nice river. And my father used to take me to that river to swim. However, along the years, I have seen that our activities affect the environment so much. That nice river is no longer clean. It's shrinking in volume, and it's no longer beautiful in a way. And that's why I chose to study engineering for my bachelor, because I want to understand more how we can, quote unquote, save our environment and how to do sustainable development in the first place. So that's why I work along the sustainable development area for so long. And currently, it's just a little bit more specific because then I work on the sustainable energy side. So it's quite a journey to work in the renewable energy and sustainable energy in general, because in Indonesia, we have been called, there has been a lot of potential for renewable energy and for sustainable energy development, but we're still lagging behind. So it is exciting and challenging at the same time. And we expect to see more progress, hopefully soon.
Well, I actually want to say I'm actually so impressed by the motivation of, like your devotion in the renewable energy industry in Indonesia, especially for, the better environment in this country. So I'm really impressed, honestly speaking. So
it's a personal story, so
yeah. So
yeah.
You've been working at IESR for 4 years, as far as I know right now. So how do you describe your leadership now as women in this association? And I'm wondering how it evolved over time.
Okay. Well, actually, since joining IESR, the organization has been doing a lot of gender perspective in mind. So it's not a problem in the office itself. We have had a female manager since the very beginning. So we always strive to improve gender mainstreaming in all of our programs. And we also try to do gender training for the staff. And we always want to have, whenever we have a webinar or a discussion or public dialogue, something like that, we try to avoid the all male panel, because I think it is also a problem worldwide that in the energy industry, the renewable energy included, there are a lot of males and limited females. So we want also to highlight the role of females in the renewable energy sector.
So as a sustainable energy and also development professionals at IESR, how do you see the future of renewable energy in Indonesia in the next 3 years or in the next decades in the whole scale?
Okay. Previously, I told you that Indonesia is a hotspot for renewable energy potential because we have a lot, and it has been a point of interest for many investors. But there are a lot of challenges to face in terms of consistent and supportive policies, in terms of opening the market for more development, in terms of there are concern on, are we ready as the human resources, for example, because most of technology is coming from more developed countries, and are we ready to innovate? Are we ready to adopt that technology, for example? And also there is question on the grid stability, because if we talk about renewable energy, in the end, it's always about integrating the renewable energy into the power sector. So there's a question on that. However, in the last few years, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of push for more aggressive renewable energy development in Indonesia. One of them being in solar energy, because maybe it's the easiest to deploy, it's available everywhere, and the government's also showing support for rooftop solar. And we expect that this year there will be a new regulation for boosting renewable energy development, and we really, really hope that the government consider green recovery as to using renewable energy to revive the economy after the COVID. So even 2020 is called like the bleak year because of the pandemic and etc. We strive to have more development in renewable energy sectors 2021 and soon.
Okay, so I wanted to actually recently I've noticed one of your posts on LinkedIn mentioning that IESR has initiated the 1 gigawatt rooftop solar development plan for the Indonesian government, and hopefully it will be implemented next year. So as a sustainable energy and a development professional at IESR, how do you specifically envision the prospect of rooftop solar in Indonesia? And what do you think is the most challenging obstacles to overcome in the near future in the field of rooftop solar?
All right. Rooftop solar is somewhat unique because I think everyone can get a hold of that technology. It's more like the evolution of smartphones. At first, it's only for the expensive community, you know, like only rich people can afford that. But now everyone has a smartphone, and I think that's also the case for rooftop solar in different scale, because now in Indonesia the price is still considered expensive. However, with the declining prices and support from the government, we expect that it will be in a lot of roofs in Indonesia very soon. And I think the psychology is supporting that, because then if we have clean energy source, people can actually choose their energy source, not previously where the government provide energy for them and we cannot choose. Is it from coal, is it from oil, or is it from other sources of fossil fuels? But now with that technology, people can choose how they power their homes. And so that's what's helping us in mainstreaming the issue of rooftop solar in Indonesia. We've been working to energize the discussion with a lot of stakeholders. And we've seen that from 2017, let's say, where there was no chats on rooftop solar. It is very limited in a closed community. But now the rooftop solar has entered the mainstream energy issues in Indonesia, and more people are interested. And we see that it's not only from residential, but also from commercial CNI sectors. And the government also start to use rooftop solar on their buildings. So that's a good sign, and we expect it to continue to increase. However, if we want to see a massive growth like in other countries such as China or Korea or Japan, then we need to provide support for the installation. We did a survey, and several supports that they need, for example, is financing support, maybe installment with low interest, or discount in taxes, or ease in procedures, because for now they still think that to apply to install rooftop solar is a little bit challenging. So maybe simple, easy procedures to do that will help. Way to do that.
Okay, so followed by the last question, I noted that you have already mentioned the role of developing renewable energy in recovering the economic situation in Indonesia. So how do you really view the role of developing renewable energy in the economic recovery in Indonesia during this global pandemic in 2020?
Okay, so globally, there has been a growing voice of green economic recovery, meaning renewables-led economic recovery measures, green stimulus, things like that. But Indonesia has yet to understand what green economic recovery means. So among the stimulus being allocated by the government for health and for social safety nets, there is none for green stimulus, and that's why we propose this program called Solar Archipelago. This is a national program that we see as a way to revive the economy, but also to promote the use of renewable energy and to contribute to our climate target. So it targets 1 gigawatt peak of installation for poor households receiving electricity subsidies. And it will also create jobs, because there is a need for people to install the rooftop solar, and we calculate that it can generate up to 30,000 jobs annually for that 1 gigawatt peak. And also it will boost domestic solar industry, because if the government committed to use domestic solar modules and cells, then the industry can grow. Currently, we have a very limited production capacity. So if this national program could be implemented, it will help in terms of industry growth and also job creation creation, and in the long term, it can help the government to reduce the electricity subsidies. And we strongly recommend the Indonesian government to also think about other means of renewables-led economic recovery. We have seen in a lot of countries that renewable energy can generate triple the times of job compared to fossil fuels. That will certainly help the economy. And then we also have to consider that in this pandemic situation, the fossil fuels has been hit very hard, but the renewable energy remain resilient. So I think that's a good sign that perhaps this moment on, we should consider low carbon development areas.
So much for your time, Marcia, and looking forward.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, and have a nice day.
Okay, have a nice day. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Bye. You
Bye.
too.